Good day, everybody. This is the Hermit Modeler coming at you. And much has been said about how we weather models and get them to look like they've been in the junkyard for many, many years. But today we're going to discuss some of the tools that I use to get these models to look like this. One of the first things that I want to mention is this big monstrosity here. This is called a grabber, and it is wonderful for all those things you drop on the floor that you can just simply use that, pick them up, and drop them back on the table again. I wouldn't be without that thing. Another thing that I want to discuss is the Moto tool, Dremel Moto tool. Goes by a lot of different names. I'm not going to be picking up that, just showing you what it looks like here. And some of the bits that I use, naturally the cutoff bit and package of them because you'll need them. There are different types of bits, and these, believe it or not, are great for coming in and roughing up the edges of the cars after you've done the cutting out for the holes in the rust. And I'm not going to go into all of them, but these are just a few of the different bits that I use. I also, tweezers, those things really come in handy. I want to mention this thing here. It's a portable vise, and I like the portable because I don't want it on my table all the time, but when I do need it, it's there to use. It's not as stable as a permanent one, remember that, but they do come in very handy. These blades here, saw blades, they're great for cutting, but they're also great for going in and on the underside of the body where you get the rust, especially in the rocker panels. Those things are great to go in there and just kind of jagged that edge a little bit for the rust on the rocker panels. I use that a lot for that. These are sponges, and they have a lot of different uses. I use them for blotting my rust onto the top of the car, onto the body of the car. And we're going to get some stuff out of the way here. One of the things that people want to use right off to start with is Tester's Rust Paint. I have no problems with this. It's a good product, except that it is oil-based. And when I'm working on weathering a vehicle, I don't want oil-based because it is too permanent and too hard to work with. I like to work with water-based paints. So my go-to there is the acrylic lines of craft paint. I use acrylic craft paints a lot. This is the rust. I have different ones that I use, and terracotta on that one there, black naturally, and just Mississippi mud. Now, I use a lot of Mississippi mud just simply because it looks like mud. We're going to also mention one that I use. I use this a lot when I'm doing door lines on my regular models. I'm getting some stuff out of the way, but that is India ink. It comes in great for if you want to make a line in a car someplace and scratch things up, or just even for putting those door panels in. You can see the difference there. That door panel was India ink to make that door panel in there. So one of the other things that is very important to use. Now, when it comes to the actual weathering, pardon me, I'm putting my glasses on. I like to use this Vallejo. I think that's the name of it, yeah. Vallejo. I use that for my rusting of my models. My main colors that I use are the chocolate brown, bronze, yes, bronze. I actually use bronze. I use a wash. That's a light rust. And I use orange brown. This one is light rust. This one is dark rust. And this one is German black brown. And then the last one that I use a lot is the orange rusty there again. So anyway, those are the main ones that I use of the Vallejo product. There's a lot of others, but when it comes to my rusting, those are the ones that I use. We're going to drop down off the table before we get to some of the dusts that I use. We're going to take a look at another product that I use occasionally. That is my airbrush. I do use that on occasion. I hate airbrushes. Some people swear by them. Some people, like to post them like, they're gods or something that they use them. But for me, I use that only when I absolutely have to, because to me it's a big hassle. But there's some things that I just absolutely have to do that you just can't do it without an airbrush. Mostly I use that instead of for weathering. I use that when I'm doing my lowrider models. Those paint jobs on that, you just can't do a lot of those without an airbrush. So we're going to come back up onto the table now, and we're going to get into some of the chalks and such that I use. Tamiya, I'm not sure what the pronunciation is, makes some great ones. There's snow, soot, rust, burnt blue, burnt red, oil stain. I use the burnt blue and the oil stain a lot. It looks like also I use the orange, the burnt red. Orange rust I use a lot. Gunmetal I actually use some. Silver not very much. Sand, light sand, and mud, I use those quite a bit. Those are some hefty ones that I go to. When I'm using my liquid paints, I also use these little cups. I think I got this like at one of the hobby shops or something there. But it's nice for mixing up very small amounts of paint. Now, we're going to talk about a product that I really use extensively. This is Monroe Models. They're out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. And I love them because they have the Delta Dirt and Dark Earth. Let me get this back where you can see. Dusty Brown, Terracotta. There's another Dusty Brown short box. Light Rust, Dark Gray. Something I got turned around where I can't see it. Grimy Black. Rusty Brown, and Dark Rust. I use those heavily, extensively. And I love to just take and dip into the container and just dip that onto the body and just go like that around on the body with it. That was what was done here. And then afterwards, I take and I spray everything. Once I've got the model done, I spray it with dull coat to hold that paint and all that pigment in so that you're not wiping it off or smearing it around. Another product, people use it pretty heavily. I occasionally use it. That is salt. And I've also used, instead of salt sometimes, I've also used, if I want a little bit coarser, I will use silica sand. That is good for, when you're wanting a roughed up place with rust and such, but mostly I can get it without having to use the rust of that on it. There are some people, I'm not going to go into a lot, but be sure and hit the YouTube videos. There are several people out there that have done some excellent videos on using salt. And probably even the, well, at least I know it's the salt. I'm not so sure about anything else, but I know that they use a lot of salt on their models there for weathering. So be sure to check out some of those videos there. And all of these things that I'm using, there are videos on how to use all of these products on weathering. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to make you aware of what they are. And definitely be sure and watch those people that are using the airbrush. Those guys do some remarkable things with the airbrush. And I don't really have anything against it, except for, to me, it's more of a hassle than I want to go to. But there is some wonderful things those guys do with the airbrush. So be sure and check out everybody else's videos, not just mine. Check out everybody else's videos and see what they're doing with these things. Be sure and check out Monroe Models Dust and Terracotta and Dusty Brown, Dark Earth, all those different things there. Be sure and check those out. Hit your acrylic sections or your craft paint sections for your acrylic paints. Be sure and hit those. This one here, this is the red rust. These I use extensively. And the reason I do this is because with these water base, I can move those things around a lot. Once I get them on the car, I can really move those around a lot. I can't do that when I'm using the oil base. So one of the biggest things is learn to use water-based paints there. I hope that's helped you a lot. I don't want to go into, with the depth of exactly how I do it. There's a lot of videos out there. Once again, watch those videos and you'll learn from these guys. There are some real masters out there. And this is the Hermit Modeler signing off. Be sure and hit the like button, the subscribe button, and tell your friends. And be sure and ring that bell, too, for future episodes. Thank you. Good day.